Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. Now, this is actually an update review. That's why it's titled Update. 3 years ago, I picked up a 110E. There's no difference, okay? It's still layered walnut back and sides. It's still the same neck, same fretboard, same 1356 gauge strings, same solid Sitka spruce top, same Expression 2 electronics. Nothing's changed, including the fact that Taylor still hasn't done anything about our, strap pin for the body part, which they really should, because they did a wonderful job with the GS Minis. They put a real one on there. Like, come on, seriously, Taylor. Anyways, so same guitar. The difference is it's been 3 years since I last had a 110E. I actually ended up taking that one back to Long McQuaid, and one of my students ended up buying it like the next day or something. So yeah, he's had it ever since. So I got two guitars on Taylor Family and Friends, which, by the way, ends January 2nd. I know I told you that in the last video, but hey, repeat it again. And it takes place in Canada, the US, Australia, and I'm not sure about what other countries. But either way, you buy yourself a full-size Taylor of some sort, whether it be a full dreadnought or the Academy body or, a cutaway, whatever, okay? It's got to be a normal full-size guitar. And then, of course, you get a second guitar for virtually next to nothing. I ended up getting the GS Mini Koa. It's the Mini E, so it's got electronics. For like $450. I saved $850 in tax. Because I'm kind of like thinking, well, do I really need two more Taylors? Well, I want two more Taylors, so I guess I don't need two more. But I still want one more, and that's the 224 Deluxe Koa CE. And it's a beautiful guitar. You got to play one. I keep playing the one at Long McQuaid, at least till somebody buys it. And that's the right-handed one. I want the lefty. But I did get a right-handed Koa and for the GS Mini, because I needed a smaller right-handed guitar, which is kind of the method to my madness. So sometimes I do things for a reason, right? But I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to have a better review on this thing as far as the picture quality goes and the audio. I looked at my original video this morning and I almost barfed. I was like, that audio was horrifying. The video quality was like 720, but it was like very low megapixel. And I'm like, this is not happening. We got to fix this. So anyway, we're going to give you guys a little bit of a play, just acoustic. We already did the plugged in thing and everything yesterday when we showed you guys the two new guitars, because it's called New NGD, or New Guitar Day ×2, and I listed out the models of the two Taylors, which one of course was that Koa, and of course this Taylor 110E. And the 110E was kind of a convenient choice to buy because it is a full-size dreadnought, even though I'm not really much of a dreadnought fan these days, especially since getting into cutaways. I do like the Academy bodies. They are really freaking nice. And they're a smaller body than a full dreadnought is too, so it's a comfort thing, right? But I can get along fine with any size of guitar, with the exception of the J200 from Epiphone. That thing was like so thick and so huge. I'm like, man, this is just, I can't do this anymore. But it was bought as an emergency guitar, so, what did I care at the time? Anyway, so we got the same woods, same everything, same 13 gauge strings, 1356. You can dump this thing down to 1253s if you want, or 1254s. You'd be just fine. You're going to have to, adjust your neck, obviously, because different tensions and everything. But, yeah, it's this one seems to have a lower action on it, too, because one of my original complaints about this guitar was it did take a lot of extra pressure with the 13s on it. But I think a lot of that, too, is even with the 13s, the action had to have been higher. This is actually quite low in comparison. And it's more comfortable to play. Let's give you guys a play and see what you think. doing bar chords on this thing now. I hated it before, just because of the way it was. But this new one, fantastic. So yeah, this is a really nice guitar. I think I'm gonna really enjoy doing a lot of different music with this guitar because it does have that. It's got a lot more bass response, obviously, than my other two Taylors. Because it's a full-size dreadnought body, they are very basic. Okay, or sorry, not basic, very bassy guitars when you have a dreadnought body, right? And they tend to be a little bit thicker as well, and so that adds to the you know. Still got that treble in there, Taylor's brightness. That is a sound too that I can actually appreciate. As far as going into an acoustic amplifier goes, that's going to be your tricky part. Now I've got a Fender Acoustasonic 40 watt with two 6.5-inch speakers in it. I can do a lot with that amp, which is great, but I do find I have to really dial back the mids and trebles on the EQ on that amp for the guitar side because it's very, very bitey, and because this is bitey as it is, especially on the highs and mids, it makes it very much more bitier on that particular amp. No amps are the same, right? I mean, I could rip out the speakers, maybe change the speakers because, let's face it, majority of your sound is actually in the speaker more than anything. That's something that I'm going to probably leave for a much longer other day because I'm going to have to investigate what my options are, check them out on YouTube, see what they're like and that sort of thing, and then decide from there if I'm going to keep it as is or, whatever, right? Maybe I'll eventually get a Fishman Loudbox. I have no idea, but I don't want one of the little teeny dinky ones. I want one that actually has some good sound to it, right? Plugging into the PA, this thing sounds great, by the way, plugged in. I really like the sound even through my reference monitors. Fantastic. And the Taylor guitars, they all sound great where you're, on stage and you're through a front of house PA system. And, I play on a worship team at church, and, so, our engineer, if they find that, well, that's a little bit bitey there, Cavi, and they can dial me back a little bit on the EQ there, because you're limited with the pickup system with the Expression 2 systems, you're limited because you have volume or gain, whichever you want to call it, but then you only have bass and treble as your EQ. No mid-range, and these things do have mid-range. They also have adjustable pickups too, or adjustable spots on the pickup, where you can kind of tweak things a little bit if you wanted to. So it is kind of a really unique system that Taylor has. So kind of take it for what you will on that one. But even for finger picking, like, it's nice. I was thinking about getting a classical guitar again, right? But then I thought twice about it because I played on one at Long McQuaid, and it doesn't matter that it was a cheap one, but I remembered why I got rid of my classical originally, other than the fact that it was a piece of garbage, back in the early 80s there. The things never stay in tune, and you can't really strum a classical. Classical is for finger style picking and notations and all that stuff, and I haven't done that kind of music in forever. I mean, I still do finger picking, obviously, which I like, but I'm not into all that single note run stuff, or I don't play like Beethoven and Mozart and all the other classic music. But I do like finger picking a lot of more modern songs and stuff, and I do a lot of that actually in church too with some of the songs. If I can't really deal with doing the strumming pattern because I am the offset player, and you can't have two guitars playing exactly and precisely the same patterns and whatnot. It sounds horrible. I will actually sit there and I'll either single pick notes, and I'll bring it right up into the bridge and just cut through the mix a bit, or I'll finger pick it, because it's more easier, more controllable, or it's just going to sound better with the song, right? So I have a lot there, but I do like finger picking. Doing bar chords on this thing, though, is really nice compared to my last 110. Mind you, like I said, the action was probably higher. This is nicer, so it's really effortless. So anyway, so what's really changed in 3 years? Well, the price went up a couple of bucks. It was $1,050, now it's $1,099. Materials still going to be the laminated or layered walnut back and sides on this. Same neck material, everything the same. But of course, wood is never wood when you think about it, because there is no two layers or two slices of even solid Sitka spruce that are going to resonate the same, exactly the same, right? So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. And a lot of your sound in your acoustic, a big chunk of it, is actually in that top, whether it's solid or laminated or layered, or the kind of wood they use, whether it's spruce or mahogany, koa, etc. They're all going to have a different flavor to them, even if it's the exact same guitar, but just a different top even. Your strings make a huge impact on sound too, for gauge and brands and material types and so on. So, where are we at? I think this thing, honestly, even for 3 years later, owning one once again, I think as far as where my final opinion is actually going to be on the 110, is simply this. If this body size fits you, that's a good thing. You need it to fit you properly. So you need a good, comfy pivot point, which this thing does have. At least for my body size anyways. It's not overly thick, but it's not exactly thin either, right? I like the sound of the 13s, but I also like the sound of 12s, right? It does have really good bass response, which I like for playing blues stuff, because you need some low end in there, right? The treble can be very bitey, and the mids are there too, so it's EQ'd reasonably well, okay? So, but you can change things, like I said, with different strings and gauge, whatever, right? I will always stick with Elixir Nano Web strings on every Taylor. I will not change. I mean, that's part of their sound, as well as those Elixir Nano Webs and whatever gauge they happen to be using, gives that guitar its overall sound, right? Other than the top and other things that count. But I think I would put this thing at no problem 4.5 out of 5. The price is really good. You're getting a very high quality guitar for a reasonable price. I mean, you can play live with this thing. It's not a big deal. You could be a touring musician, and not a big deal. You don't have to have a $7,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 guitar to justify playing on stage with. I mean, really, what are you getting, right? Something else you got to think about. But we all have our taste. We all have our ideas of price versus quality, etc. But rest assured, when it comes to Taylor guitars, they're built like tanks. They are really built to play. They're built for longevity. And the sound quality out of them. I've owned Martin guitars. You guys know that. And I got to tell you, to be honest, I'll never go back to a Martin again unless they can come up with something very spectacular that can outbeat my taste in comparison to the Taylors. And yes, I have tried Elixir Nano Web strings on Martins, and it's kind of it's a pig and a poke depending on the guitar. Same as my Takamine. Tried them on there, nah, didn't like them. Go back to the originals. Now, Elixirs, by the way, if you do have an Epiphone J200, okay, put Elixir Nano Web 1253s on that guitar. Holy Hannibal, is that thing ever freaking nice once you do that, because the stock strings suck. At least that's my opinion, right? And we have different opinions and different tastes, but that improved that guitar drastically for me. So you never know, right? But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this thing. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5 all day long. And so do check out the 110E if you are thinking about your first tailor even, and being a full-size tailor. If your body fits this, because you have to fit it right, then I think this would be a really good buy for you, and it could be with you for the rest of your life. You never know. Or you could get an addiction like I got going right now in Taylor guitars, and right now I got 4 of them, and yeah, I still want at least 1 more. So yeah, really nice. Really, this is why dreadnoughts were invented. Like, that bass there, man, that's nice. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my other Taylors to death. They're awesome guitars, awesome sounding. But this was actually a good way to go for me for getting another Taylor. Is I get that extra bass that I'm kind of lacking on the other guitars for certain things. So, but yeah, so you got to kind of have a variety of guitars for whatever kind of music you're doing, I guess. So at least that's what I look at it as. So anyway, that's it. So I think we can close off and say thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to put this guitar up against the other two. So we're going to have basically like a triple threat video. So it'll be the 110 versus the 114 versus the 214, right? But it's a 114E, and we'll talk about the wood materials in each guitar and string gauges, etc. that are on them, blah, blah, blah. And we'll do a comparison for sound for you guys to see which ones you prefer, what you think of each one, etc. Right? So you'll be able to leave those comments below. Also, leave your comments below on what you thought about this guitar. And do check out my original video, because like I almost hurled, but seriously, you gotta really, it's a night and day difference between the two. So anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. And oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe and smack that bell for notifications to get notified when I upload new content. So see ya.